for you. We come to Jim's in. Coming in late. Yeah. Before we commence, I need to ask any members or officers in physical attendance with an electronic device to mute it to avoid feedback. And if remote participants can keep their camera and microphone off unless they wish to speak. The meeting is being live webcast and the recording stays on the council's website. Now we're using the owl again tonight, which is this little fella on the end of the table. This will pick up your voice and your face. So for you, if you need to be picked up by the camera, you may need to come to the front of the room. It can pick up the audio from further away. Yeah, you can move further. It can pick up the audio from further away. People in the room are struggling to hear anyone who's speaking. It may be beneficial for the speaker to come to the front of the room as well if you feel comfortable. We have had problems in the past. Now, introductions. The following officers are in attendance. The Head of Housing and Community Services, Charlotte Hudson. Policy and Engagement Officer, Janet Dart. And virtually we have Billy Attaway from Democratic Services. Good evening. Would you like to sign in for us, please? First, yeah. You haven't missed anything, you're all right. And we also have KCC Councillor Mike Dender here, Divisional Member for Sittingbourne North, and we have KCC Councillor John Wright, the Divisional Member for Sittingbourne South, who's attended virtually. From Southern Water, we have Alex Durnell, Kelly Robinson, none? Oh, Kelly's remote. Matt Smiley, Sue Cobb, remote. Yeah. Yep, okay, so that's two remote to here. And City Fibre, we have Anne Krause and Ben Englefield, both remotely. All right, so one other reminder, please. If you want to speak, I would ask you to speak through the chair and not carry on conversations amongst yourselves or talk across other people. If you want to speak, you can raise your hand, and before you speak, you could give your name and maybe your interest in the meeting. Have we got any members of the public on the IM? Okay. Any member of the public that uses the IM inappropriately may be removed from the meeting. This is strictly for members asking to speak and for officers to communicate. And because this is a new venue for all of us, and before we go any further, I'd like to thank Councillor James Hall for arranging the venue tonight. And it's good to see a good few people in. So as it's a new venue to most of us, there is no planned emergency tonight. So if the fire alarm sounds, you have to assume that there is a real emergency and you should leave by the most appropriate fire exit, which are all marked. That was one right open, isn't it? Right. Agenda item 2, apologies for absence.
Yes, we have apologies from councillors Simon Clark and Anne Hampshire.
Yes, in Derek Campbell.
As a centre for the trust.
No, we're down the way. Okay, agenda item 3, declarations of interest. So can we have any members' declarations of interest, please? I'll give that to Councillor Rolls, who put his hand up marginally first.
Swell Media Arts Centre.
Swell Media Arts Centre. Councillor Winkler.
Milton Country Park as a trustee, and also the Milton High Street Society.
Norway Society, yeah.
Non-pecuniary
As a member, yeah.
as a member.
Councillor Dendor.
Non-pecuniary for Milton Creek Country Park Trust and Thamesley Community Centre Trust.
Thank you. And myself. Trustee at the MCCP, trustee at Diversity House, and a member of the Milton Regis Society, and a member of Sittingbourne in Blue. Not that I think it's appropriate to them. Any other declaration? Thank you. Agenda item 4 is the minutes. Okay, so I have a couple of adjustments to make the minutes. Does anyone else have any adjustments to make on the minutes 124 to 137 for the meeting held on the 21st of June? No, I have a couple. The Milton Region Society is a friend society, so we're all members, we're not trustees. I have nothing to do with the Swale Media Arts Centre, apart from popping in to see Ken every now and then, and a bit of voluntary work there, fill up lights. And the Sittingbourne in Bloom, again, is a friend society, so you're members, not trustees. Thank you. Right. Agenda item 5, Southern Water. Now, we have asked in the past for Southern Water to attend various meetings, but we're lucky enough to have them here tonight. And I would like to have the questions from the entire floor on any matters that people would like to speak to Southern Water about. I have a few issues. I'd ask members to be not particularly specific, but if there are any general issues that I'd like to raise, now is your time to speak. Have we anyone in the audience? I see a tentative hand. Is that Gareth there? If you would like to speak, Ian, Gareth?
You've just basically reminded me of one. I know that there's a lot of, they call it the plastic covers for the stop tops in pavements. A lot of them seem to, they seem to degrade over the years. They seem to, you know, not be properly supported underneath, and then it falls in or something and breaks. And eventually you then have to pay to someone else to come out and replace it. I realise that this is possibly, you know, I'm possibly looking at ones that have been in years and years ago, but really just to bring to your attention that if you could find more strongly built stop top covers for pavements for the future, then hopefully that might reduce your future maintenance costs. Thank you.
Thank you, Gareth. Would you like to speak on that, or any other matters you think may be necessary to speak on at the moment?
Yeah, so I'm the operations manager for the water networks in the East region, which covers Swale and Bedford Towns and various other areas too. I'll take that note down and provide a response to you or to the committee. But if you do come across any broken or dislodged stop tap covers, please raise them through our contact centre, because they get raised as a P1 trip hazard, which is an immediate attendance for someone with my team's going in place. So if there is a trip hazard caused by a stop tap cover, please do raise it and we respond quickly.
Thank you. Is there anything else you want to say before anyone else on the?
I was just going to say, same with foul to manhole covers. If you notice any causing trip hazard, then do report them.
Thank you. Councillor Winkler, you were next up.
Thank you, Chair. One of my main concerns is the amount of leaks that we've had this summer. And I've reported at least a couple in my ward. And the length of time it takes to get the water stopped leaking. You know, in a situation where we've got almost a drought. And we're going to, so why does it take so long to get it sorted?
So a number of reasons why it could take a long time, some of which are within our control, some of which are outside of our control. So the priority response, or the response time for a visible leak since the drought order came into force in Hampshire has been to priority 1 or priority 2, any visible leak. Since that has come into effect with the drought order, the amount of work for my team to respond to has tripled across just the East region, but also across the others too. So that we've been struggling to cope with the amount that we've been having coming in, to at least go and assess the leak and then raise it to the correct priority. Whether it is a leak, whether it's groundwater, or at least to assess what that issue is and raise it for our repair contractors. Our repair contractors have also been under a lot of pressure with the increased workload, as well as labour availability. But we've got more gangs, repair gangs, coming in to try and get on top of the leaks outstanding and to respond quickly to any that are raised by members of the public or our own team. Some issues outside of our control are things like traffic management or permitting from the local highways, or for example, rediverting bus routes and those sorts of things. So sometimes we can be, it can take 3 months for us to get a road closure, for example, to excavate the road, depending on where we pinpoint the leak, whether it's on a water main, whether it's on a stopcock or another asset that might be underground. So there are some, we try our absolute best to get out as quickly as possible to visible leaks at the moment, as we always do, but the workload since the drought orders come into effect has been much more difficult for us to attend to.
Thank you. Do you want to come back on that?
Can I just come back to
Councillor
the
Richards?
point?
Yeah.
Would the amount of leaks taking place be down to lack of investment on aging pipework?
You could argue that that is the case, but during these times of dry weather, we do see a lot of ground movement, which can, so particularly in Kent with a lot of clay soils around here, when it dries and cracks, and then consequently when it rains and the ground swells again, that can cause fissures in the ground and can contain a lot of water mains, which can cause a leakage outbreak, which indeed is what we've seen across our region. Yes.
Okay, Councillor Denver. Councillor Denver.
Thank you, Chair. I've got three actually. I'll tag one on to Tony's there. But you can leave that one to last if you want. What kind of new technology have you got to trace? The two really that I have are one, when you repair a leak, I presume it's your responsibility to reinstate the ground exactly as you can.
Correct, yes.
And not allow it to subside as a result. Well, sorry, if it's subsided as a result of the leaks, which it often does, then I'm presuming that it's your responsibility to get it back up to its normal level.
Correct, yeah.
Thank you for confirming that. The other one is combined sewers. I mean, when you talk to residents, they don't understand that in some cases, KCC are taking surface water off into their drainage, and sometimes it's going into combined with you and so on, and then that leads to flooding and that. So it's often a problem talking to residents that they don't understand which is which, and you're probably aware of it, but I'll use Sittingbourne as an example, a massive example, where there's continual flooding down from the strong from the A2. So maybe if you come to the next to it.
I know with Coombe Drive, KCC have done a lot of work recently in basically removing that surface water from our foul water sewer. We're also in the process of carrying out connectivity surveys along Lansdowne Road to try and remove roof drainage from the foul sewer. Hopefully by removing that amount of water, we should be able to minimise or stop foul water flooding during storm.
Let's go back to the leak
And
technology.
the surface, reinstating the surface back to the children. Yeah.
Yes, so that is the case, yes.
I've had a couple of cases where that hasn't been done. So presumably if we look back on the contract with the nation, we do it. Second question.
Yeah.
My questions, Glenn.
No.
Technology on drainage.
Anymore.
Technology on leakage, subsidence from a result of a leak, and then they don't restore the road back to where it was. Yeah, I've had a couple of incidents of that. And what was my third one? Snips Hill. Oh yes, combined sewers where the water. We had one down at Church Road, where the resident didn't know who to go to. Southern Water or KCC, it turned out to be Southern Water, and it was something. Eventually, Southern Water came out, but it took 10 days, I think. So there's that confusion of who's responsible. for surface water and the drainage. You get those three?
Yes, already got my email, I think.
So technology was
So technology to detect leaks, new technology.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so we have a leakage detection contractor that operate across the country. They recently invested in where the industry is headed is towards acoustic logging technology. These are devices which sit on valve spindles, and they can detect sound of leak between 2 points or across an entire network. If we deploy them, they know where each other are deployed, and they know the mains material that goes between each one, and they can correlate the waves of sound that travel along that pipe, depending on which type of material it is, and they can pinpoint that way. So there's, I think, half of our teams in Kent are operating with that, but acoustic logging.
okay.
Half that acoustic logging technology. They tend to be used to find really with the background leaks that are difficult for say manual methods to detect. So they move around in a planned fashion to find really low levels of leakage in parts of the network that we haven't been successful in finding leaks previously.
Yes, sir.
I've got a dirty and clean one. Going back to the Coombe Door, I don't know where this gentleman's a resident, because I've heard Coombe Door. I'm a resident of Coombe Door. Sliding down the bottom of Coombe Door. That's been happening for 30 years. I've been in there 40 years. Why it was spared this year, because some brain in Kent Council gave a resident permission to tarmac 2 cars wide, James on talking about, over the top of a grass area, so he can park his cars and he can park on the road. Now, in my words, a grass area, the walk would soak along. But this year, this winter's just gone. My son-in-law was up here in water where it was so deep, where 2 people was there, so we got flooded. Now, don't they look into these things when you make a decision to tarmac a grass area for subpoints?
I would imagine so, but
And those sewers have been like this all the time I've been there. They go underneath the alley. And we've heard now that Eastal, they found out that Eastal sewage was joined in the bells. So it's all backflowing our way and people are getting sewage in that sewer. There's no research here for anything. But that's more about the dirt being nearly clean. I said to you, but I got the dirt being clean. Up a field road on the industrial estate, my company is falling. Fresh water. Because we get gentlemen who are so kind to their horses in the paddocks and the fields all around the area. They turn up the big water tank on the back of the transit. They've got a fire hydrant on the fire badge. And one of them is snapped. And it's leaking. Now this was 7 weeks ago. I walk that way every night and I can paddle through it across the road. Now, all I see was happening with water shortages. And sharing a bath with the wife or shower with the wife and this sort of thing in the garden out there. How many gallons is poured out of that hydrant?
I don't know how
And
much.
what, how, you said you're trying to get it done quickly as possible. As quickly as possible. 7 months? 7 weeks.
Very much depend on when it was
How
reported.
much
If it was,
was 7 weeks ago?
and it was, okay,
Yeah.
I'll have a look into that one.
Yeah, and it's pouring down the road. It's bubbling up that bit, isn't it?
Up the field road.
Up the field road.
Right, councillor Denny, did you want to come back on the question?
Yes,
Actually,
come back on it, the paving of driveway over the areas, yeah, is actually not facing the, it's a planning matter. It's a planning matter that goes through Swellborough Council.
KCC.
And that, no,
KCC, because the notice up was KCC.
and it has to satisfy planning conditions, which usually, if it has been to planning properly, ensures there's a runoff that goes into the drain. But it is a planning matter.
But the runoffs not take the water.
Yeah,
Ask the man here.
yeah, fine.
But it would allow
It has to go to the
water like that to be this deep in a residential area because the drains can't cope and then they tarmac an area this wide. I tell you who give the permission. They've got a bunch of monkeys in the councils who give permission for things like that without asking these men, can your drains cope with it? Or asking the residents, and we would say no. On one of the lake ones, I'll live up the slope of it for.
People could come up with James. I'll bring that up with James, councillor Hall. I think councillor Truelove is next.
Thanks. Good evening. What if I could ask you some more structural questions or strategic questions, which I hope you can manage, but maybe not. First of all, as a company, you were fined, I think it's 90 million in the last couple of years for historic sewage disposal problems. And we did identify as one of those problems being in this borough. And we did have meetings with some of your top people who said, admitted that there'd been past failures to invest properly, but now Swale is going to be in receipt of quite a lot of capital investment. So I'd like to ask you what sort of progress has been made with capital investment in Swale. The second question is, about 10 years ago, the Isle of Sheppey was cut off for water supply. And this is because there's only one supply to the Isle of Sheppey, and it was asked of Southern Water, could you actually put the capital investment in to ensure that they're not dependent on one source? And that investment never took place. And so during this year, the people on the Isle of Sheppey had to put up with a long period of very hot weather, of no water to wash, difficulties with food, but also with the sewage, inevitably. So that's the second question. And the third question is going back to the first. We've had a lot of concentration recently on sewage being dumped into our seas, affecting our coastal economy, affecting the popularity of visiting our coast and using the facilities. Given that there was a historic problem, it's pretty disturbing that that is still sort of thing that's happening, and it isn't satisfactory to continue to give reassurances that things will be better in the future. I have to say, this perspective of a lot of us is that the privatisation of companies such as yours has seen a lot of the funding that was promised to go into investment, going into paying out to shareholders, and there's been a deficit in terms of proper investment over the last 20 or 25 years. So could you just address those three things? First of all, what capital investment has gone in to Swale in the last year? What is going to be done to see that Sheppey does not suffer that indignity once again? And thirdly, can we get some real reassurance that we're not going to continually be told that you can't use the bathing facilities around the coast of Kent? Thank you.
I'll start with the investment as well. I'll be honest, I'm not 100% sure what has been.
And you can carry that back for us.
In terms of polluting the bathing waters, we are working on projects to remove as much surface water from our foul lines as possible to stop the events of storm overflows.
So I don't want to interrupt you, but it's a dialogue. Why hasn't that happened before?
I can't comment.
No. Okay, what about Sheppey?
Likewise, I can't comment about previous decisions that were made on the investment required to provide that extra resilience for the Isle of Sheppey, but work is underway to provide that in, and for work to begin in the coming weeks.
Well, I fondly hope that that happens. We don't want that to happen again.
So,
Good evening, Gordon Bill.
hello, sir.
Having lived in Burston for 40 years, I always do my ward councillor in Burston. We have always had 2 councillors. But for the last 7 years, only one of them has been proactive. The councillor has always been active, is James Hall. But where is the other councillor, Anne Hampshire?
Sorry, sir, can I just interrupt? Sorry, can I interrupt you for a second, sir? Is this to do with the water?
Sorry,
Is this to do with the water, Southern Water?
this is to do with a councillor.
No, Southern Water. We're discussing Southern Water at the minute. Are you asking a question at the public session later on?
I'm putting an opinion.
Oh, no, this section is on to do with the Southern Water. I will note that you want to speak. No, that's not a problem, sir. Right, I've got a couple of, is there anyone else with Southern Water questions at the moment?
So a quick one, please.
Yeah, councillor Hall.
I'm trying to find some photographs here that I'd like to have showed you, but what it was about a year and a half ago, in Vincent Park Estate, which is in Marston, there was a deluge of water come down from the heavens, right? And it couldn't cope, the drains couldn't cope with it. I immediately phoned Southern Water on behalf of the residents, and I get no response. I thought it was an emergency team who had been available, and I think it's about 3 o'clock in the afternoon before I get to talk to someone from your departments. In between, I had to call the fire brigade out, and they did a fantastic job. They pumped all the water out of the streets, etc. They were there a whole day doing that. Southern Water didn't even turn up, and you know, they just seem to be a failing service. I can't understand it. The billions of pounds he's made, you can't give a good service to the public. I mean, for example, well, before I go on to the next story, sorry, there was 15 houses evacuated that day. 15 people had to be removed from their houses. The water was all over their living rooms. Now, another example, as recent as yesterday, a couple of residents phoned me up, said, James, there's a flood in Albany Road. So I says, well, phone up Southern Water and they'll help you. They phoned up Southern Water and they said, no, this is Kent County Council's problem. But when they came back to me with that story, I immediately got into Southern Water and complained to them because I knew it was theirs, and it was established that it was Southern Water. And you know what? I don't know if they're still been out there yet. I've no idea if they've returned there. The water was flooding down the street. I don't know if Tim Gibson can help me there. Has it been repaired yet, that pipe?
Not to my knowledge.
Not to your knowledge. So why is such a failing service?
I can't comment on what happened a year and a half ago. I've been.
Well, this is yesterday as well.
Yeah, so,
and it's ongoing all over my ward.
so when you say first pipe was flooding, was that a freshwater leak or was that foul water?
It was rainwater coming down, fresh water, yeah.
Rainwater.
But the drains couldn't cope with it.
If you could possibly supply me with a postcode or, you know, a close.
Are you staying behind?
I'll probably be leaving once.
I'd like to have found these photographs that I gave you all the evidence that I'd like to present it to you.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll try and find them if I do. I'll let you have them. Thanks very much.
Thank you, councillor Hall. We've got one more coming up from the back.
Yeah.
Oh, and
Sorry, just maybe just helpful, rather than a postcode, but it's so it's Albany Road, but it's junction with Remembrance Avenue.
Gareth,
I'll have a look.
you have something else to say?
Yes, I know the gentleman over here has raised the issue of the campus not turning down applications, things to that I was going to call the long surface road. I know that there are a lot of means to sort of put, you know, certainly they work with green grids. I think that's got another meaning in the council as well now, but the grids where you can park your cars on while still allowing the water to flow through. What I seem to recall during my time as a councillor is Southern Water, I think, may have been a consultee on a lot of projects, but I don't think they ever replied. I don't think they ever, and people, this might have changed, people might remember this differently, but I just think if there are things that you can see are going to have a lot of surface runoff, I think you have got every right to write in as a consultee, or even if you're not a consultee, and maybe suggest some changes. And that will mean when it actually gets to the planning committee, someone's actually got some ammunition to say, yes, we should request this change. Whereas otherwise, it's just really a councillor themselves trying to make their own, you know, it almost comes across almost like a personal opinion because they've got no backup from you. So just a thought.
If we could be, if we were made aware, then perhaps we could make a comment. So,
Okay, I'll find out. Yeah, thank you. I'll just ask Charlotte a question. Councillor Wright wants to ask, that's John Backers. Are Southern Water a statutory consultee on planning?
Yes,
They are, right. And do they retry?
They don't respond.
I would need to check that. And obviously there's a lot of applications.
We will try and
They
find out.
have to respond.
We'll try.
Yeah, they don't.
Can we, John Wright, you want to ask a question?
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. Can everybody hear me?
I can hear you.
Right, excellent. I'd like to ask Southern Water what their protocol is and standing orders for health and safety for the public when the drinking water, when there is a burst, and this did happen this summer in part of Swale, where the water comes out of people's taps dirty, frothy, cloudy. How they, or are they supposed to go out and inform the public that the water is contaminated and to drain their water systems down and not to drink the water?
Yes, so if customers experience a dirty water or cloudy water, we would advise that they flush their tap until it's cleared. If it doesn't clear within the time that we suggest, within a few minutes, then we would send somebody else go and do a flush of the network to clear whatever deposits there might be that have been disturbed from the first water or surge in flow through that network.
I thought the question was if you had a protocol in place to go out in advance, if you knew there was going to be a problem. So what's the protocol? If we had it come up at Council Tool, I remember, where there was a possibility that we would be getting impure water and there may be a need to shut the system down, which we publicised and then we were subsequently criticised for. But so there seems to be some sort of protocol in place. So is that if you know you get a burst, is there a protocol in place for you to inform residents that they may need to flush the water out or boil their water?
But at present, that protocol would be through our social media channels, and if a customer were to call us and notify us that they are experiencing that.
Can I come back then? Now there are a lot of disabled people that live in Swale, whether they're blind or mentally incapacitated, that unless they are informed and proactively informed, they will carry on drinking that water. What is Southern Water doing to be proactive in knowing where their vulnerable customers are and actually proactively engaging with them when there are problems such as this, or if their water is turned off, that they know where those customers are to give them bottles of water, etc., and they get the appropriate help?
Okay, I'll start off with what we're doing to improve that proactive communication. So I have been involved in the project. I don't know when it's going to deliver, where we're looking into the facility to proactively communicate with customers within a certain postcode that we know, or certain street that we know is going to be affected by a burst water main, which then may cause discoloration, which is what the term we use to describe brown or cloudy water. So I don't know when that project's going to deliver a solution, but I know that it is being looked at. Second part of the question was bottled water, wasn't it? So the current provision for bottled water and there are things on there. There's notifying on a small planned or reactive burst water main that doesn't affect a large number of properties. Then member of my team will knock on the doors of the properties that will be affected, and notify them that the water's going to be going off for a short period of time. If that duration starts to look like it's going to go on for a lot longer than our target, which is we plan to restore water within 3 hours of it going off. If it looks like it's going to extend beyond that period, then we will deliver bottled water to vulnerable customers as a priority. And then if it starts to extend much further beyond that, then we will set up bottled water stations and deliveries to vulnerable customers.
Did you hear all that, John?
Yes, I did. Can I just make a general comment that it's all very well having this project, but there are other utility companies that are well in front of you, and you need to up your game to help those vulnerable customers, and they are vulnerable. And if it wasn't certainly for the goodwill of neighbours, there would be certainly a lot of elderly vulnerable people on Sheppey that wouldn't have had any drinking water for several days, or washing, or other well, the necessity for water. So I think you ought to take it back to the powers that be at Southern Water, and certainly get them to up their game. There are other utility companies that have a vulnerable list, and you ought to know where your customers are and what their needs are as well. So sorry for my 2 pence worth. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you very much for attending. And I've just got a couple of bits that I would like to speak on myself. As it was me who's requested you come down, funny enough, so it's meeting one. Councillor Dendra has hit on one item, and that is the quality of the repairs. Not just the sinkhole we have at a road in Milton, which I put into KCC, and then they just, on their portal, it just says not our problem, forwarded. So we've still got a sinkhole.
It took 2 years, by the way.
And we're in a heritage area in Milton Regis, and those in Sittingbourne High Street, they're both heritage areas, conservation areas. And so in Milton Regis, we have York flags, granite sets, cobblestones. And when they do a little bit of work on the pipes or put in a new meter or whatever, I walked past one tonight, the cobblestones are gone, it's tarmac. And we can't have this. We spend, our group is here tonight, the Milton Regis Society, we spend a lot of time trying to beautify our high street. It's a very old town, I better call it a town. But it's not common just to us, it's all over that the quality of repair is very poor. And my other comment, and there has a message has come in, is regarding comms. I would like, and James I know has been looking, Councillor Hall's been looking for photos, some email addresses that the councillors have that we can get through on a specific issue pretty quickly rather than going through the portal. Because that just means you get put in a queue, and we could be addressing like the sinkhole at Lammas Drive, which we've got, which is a huge hole. Have you driven it recently, Councillor Dendra? Lammas Drive, yeah, it's a huge hole in the road. It's about a foot deep now, and that was a repair that you carried out, and it's just not been, whoever your contractors were, just an inferior job. There's a leak in Church Street that was repaired and is now leaking again. Straight away, some of the contractors are, don't get me wrong, the job in North Street was brilliant. Did a great job in staying, but some I think just aren't up to scratch, and you might need to look at some of the contractors you do. But I'll be glad before you go, or if we get an email address that we can use to raise these very specific issues. I understand the wider issues with infrastructure and privatisation, I get all that, but this isn't really the forum for it, although you've been given a bit of stick for it. So that was what you're here for tonight, basically. So a decent way of communicating, particularly with, as John Wright said, about getting news out to vulnerable people when large areas are affected. Because as ward councillors, we know those people, and you won't necessarily have them on the list.
Just read out two messages from
Yep,
Kelly
thank you.
Robinson. So the first one, she says, if people wish to email me the individual issues, I am more than happy to take a look tomorrow and get back to you all. And she's added, I am more than happy to be the point of escalation for those needed. So I've got I can tell you the email address, but if you don't have a pen and paper, I can let you know afterwards. It's kelly.robinson@southernwater.co.uk. Okay, I can tell you afterwards if you've not got any pen and paper.
From there, Kelly would be able to forward water related issues to myself.
Yes, that's fine. It's, like I said, it's more about a single point of contact, or that we can go, right, well, this has happened. KCC, I'm going to repair the road. Who do I contact to get you to come and make good?
Can I just add something there, Chair?
Oh, you can, of course, Councillor Dendor.
I mean, on the one instance, you mentioned it in Milton, you didn't repair it, KCC did. But the blame was yours. There's absolutely no shadow of a doubt that the blame was Southern Waters. The KCC ended up repairing it, they restored the road and it was good. So I just got to make that point. But there's been a thread running through all of this. Communication, communication, communication. I have dealt with Southern Water in a private capacity years for years, yes? Your communication is absolute and utter. Absolutely and total. I've dealt with other utility companies. I've tried my best to ensure the companies I'm involved with not related to Southern Water. Unfortunately, I'm not so hard. But somebody has got to tell your people back there, get your communication wrong. If you come back to councillors and you explain what's happening, and there's good reasoning behind it, and there is some sort of reason, we can go back to our residents and they'll be fine. But no communication will make it 100 times worse for you. 100 times worse. Let us know what's going on.
Thank you, no, thank you, Councillor Dendor. I think you handled everything very well. And I'm glad you come down. Thanks very much for coming down.
John Wright, you've got your hand up. Did you want to speak again?
Yeah, I was just going to just add to what Mike Dender said. Communication is a real issue with Southern Water. And what Southern Water needs to realise is that they're in a very privileged position to have a monopoly over the water supply of an area with customers that are tied to them. And they must pay more attention to the customer. Otherwise, these complaints won't go away. They will just get worse and worse and worse. And obviously Ofwat will find them more and more and more. So at the end of the day, they need to get their act together and actually start delivering for their customers. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you, members of the public. Thank you for your engagement and thank you for coming down. And yes, and the two online as well, which I've lost my notes, so I'll name check them very quickly. Sue Cobb and Kelly Robinson, and they are going to give us an email, so we will follow up on individual issues and councillor send through photos to the email address.
Yeah, I'm going to show you, Jen. Let's walk down.
If you could go to the back, please, councillor Hall.
Yeah, let's get this way.
Because we need to get on with the next item.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Which is City Fibre, who are going to do a presentation virtually. We need to get cracking on. We've got a bit to get on with yet. Agenda item 7, matters arising. We'll try and power through these as quick as we can.
Could we take these as read?
There's got some comments coming back, so I'll do it as quickly as possible. Thank you, Councillor Fuller. Charlotte, anything on item number 1?
No, the meeting was supposed to take place today, but unfortunately it had to be rearranged for early October.
Thank you. Number 2, I've had no reply to the emails I've sent, and there's no town centre working group at the moment. I will try and chase that up. Engagement with the police, you can read the reply there. I'd like to point out that a couple of councillors walked around with Alison yesterday looking at areas, it's called a Violence Against Women and Girls Group, looking at areas that could be dangerous for people to walk. And we notified them of a few areas, and obviously they had some other ideas that they gave to us. Item 5E, scooters.
Yeah, I can give you a quick word on that. Again, took advantage of our walk around.
We did.
yesterday, and we watched Ali, Alison, actually stopping a couple of these scooters, which I was very pleased to see. And one that she tried to chase but got away from her, but she knew where he lived. So she's going to get him.
Yes.
The point I'm making is that it does prove what I've been told by the PCC and the police, that they are trying to do the best they can. They just don't have enough people to cover all the areas.
Indeed. Item 6, Kemsley Arms, Councillor Dindal.
Yes, a bit of a naughty one here, but without going into detail, the application, the officers look like they're going to refuse. I personally, and I'll keep it very brief here, this has been 2.5 years of non-communication from the planning office, 2.5 years that the Swellborough Council has failed on this without a shadow of a doubt. Probably I should leave it there without going any deeper, as it's a planning matter. But I just wanted to put that on record that I feel it's a site that should be developed, and it's just gone so long, it's crazy.
Thank you, Councillor Dindal.
They've been failed.
Item 7, about the bus services. Obviously, this is quite fluid at the moment. Councillor Wimpers and I met Jackie Davidson the other day, and we are going to pursue a few ideas that he has given us to try and improve our bus services. And of course, we're waiting on the meeting at KCC again. I will come to you in a minute on that, Jackie, in the public forum.
I met with Roland, if I might say, Chair Roland Eglinton from Chalker, and had a chat with him, and I'm arranging a meeting between Shalina and, Prendergast is the cabinet member for children and young people, about the school buses.
Thank you,
With
Councillor.
Roland, so arranging.
Anything on that? No? No? You've got the appendices on your on the heritage issues, which you should be able to read. The lighting in Milton Regis, the KCC's portal just says further work needed, so I can't give you an update on that. 13, yeah, I've been asked to sit on the UK SPF, the United Kingdom Special Projects. Shared prosperity.
Can I ask a question on 12, please? Heroin,
Yes, you can very quickly, Councillor Dindal.
where are we? Because nothing more seems to happen.
No, in the appendix.
Yeah, it says that.
Yeah, they put a tender out for contract. It was cleared, the site was cleared the other day.
Okay.
Yeah, the site has been cleared, but I need to address the fact there's still stagnant water under there. Saxon Shore Way, we did last time, didn't we? Did go up there on the
Yeah, just a brief update. I've got the route. It doesn't go along the creek side until Swellway. One can get down to it at the sides of the Swellway. There are 2 paths down.
Yeah.
But I will say, probably need to say that Castle Road, they're supposed, according to the PROW map, there's supposed to be a link into it.
Yeah.
But it's all blocked off.
Yes, all
with industries.
Yeah.
But you can get to it through Swellway, so I don't think it's an issue.
Yeah, that's right.
But the Town Centre Volunteer Group, I'm not going to bore you with a verbal update. I will email all the councillors on that myself at a later date, because we have an update here from Councillor Rolls on the Swell Media Arts Centre.
Oh, we're jumping.
Yes, I'm not going to give a verbal update on the Town Centre Volunteer Group.
Okay. Well, the update is, we've got to thank the committee for the work, the funding they put in, which changed the front of 34 and gave us a marvellous venue for an art gallery. We've had our problems, which are still going on as far as the lease has been signed on both parts, but our solicitor still hasn't had a copy of the lease. So it is holding us up on various things. We've changed we are changing from being a CIC to being a CIO because of funding reasons. We've been given advice, and that will be happening over the next few months. We've formed a committee that is running, instead of it being run as a CIC just by the directors, it's now being run by a committee which is well underway, and we've got a full gallery right up to Christmas, and we've got film festival going on as well from the 19th to the 26th, and I'm wishing it all the best, although obviously our major problem is going to be the cost of heating, like it is with all businesses in the future. So that really is my report.
Thank you, Councillor Rolls, for the update. Councillor Bindle.
Very quickly, can I ask, it mentions a number of outstanding works prepared. I ask not now, but maybe in future we know what those repairs are.
On the Strawberry Blossom. Yes, Councillor Rolls, if you can do that.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
I'm keeping it brief, yes.
Yeah.
Because of how.
Right, agenda item 8, public forum. Now, I've got 4 people who've asked to speak, and I will ask Jackie to speak briefly once I've dealt with them. So first I'm going to call Gordon Field, if that's possible.
Yes, my question is, having lived in Merston 20 years, I've always known by full council. We've always had 2 councillors over the past 7 years. Only one of them has a proactive councillor, which is James Hall. But where is the other councillor in Hampshire? No one sees her or hears of her. Why is she being paid for doing nothing? I've sent emails from her on various occasions, so I've had no response. The good things that happen, a voice has to be heard, and her voice is not heard. And that's my comment about her.
Okay, is there any other question?
Yes. Could you tell me why the environmental wardens are never seen in Merston? Because cars and vans are parked on council lane, which is a financial offence. Secondly, why do SEB do not clean their streets, side streets? They only do the main drag, which is Tom Road and Merston Road. That's been going on for at least 6 to 7 years, and it's not acceptable.
Right, thank you for your comments and your questions. As far as, in my opinion, as far as the first comment went, that will ultimately be down to the voters at the next election. If you do have any issues with the council, there is a complaint system on the website that you can use. As for environmental issues, who would that be best to contact? So you would probably be best to go via Councillor Hall, and then he will get in touch with the officer on environmental issues. I've made a note because I've got a queue of people. Does that answer your question, sir? Thank you very much. Next, I have Robert Downton, which is you. Oh, okay.
Can I just say,
Yes, sir. Go on, very briefly.
I would like to second this gentleman, everything he said.
Okay.
As a Merston resident.
Thank you very much,
I
sir.
would like that black and everything.
I made a note. Do we have a Robert Downton here? No. Lynn Kelly.
Me?
Good evening, Lynn.
Good evening. Thank you, Chair. I would like it on record that the residents of Mulberry Way are very concerned about the antisocial behaviour in and around the Great Eastwood Pond. We've recently had damage to the trees and the reeds. We've had the destruction of street furniture. We've had the killing of wildlife, the swimming, excessive litter, bonfires, overnight camping, and destruction and removal of the life buoys. Now we've had underage, well, we've had young children swimming in the pond unsupervised. with no lifebuoys. Now, I collected them out of the pond, I replaced them, and then they went missing that day. Now, this can't go on. We've got to do something about the antisocial behaviour there. Now, I understand there are wardens and all the other ponds in the areas, and everyone congregates there. They're leaving fishing wire down, which is wrapping around children and animals' legs. They're leaving their barbs and their, I got one caught in my dress the other day. Now, if that had gone in my leg, that would have been a hospital visit, because the hooks do not come out of people's legs. So I'd just like it on record that we're very unhappy about the antisocial behaviour. Realise it's a police matter, they're underfunded, they can't do anything about it, but it would be good if we could get our own warden to supervise our pond as well.
Thank you for your comment and questions. As far, everything to do with ASB unfortunately is 101, either online or on the phone, or your PCSO, which is all we can all do. And as I don't know about wardens at ponds, that would be Mark again, wouldn't it?
I mean, typically, I think it is only around fishing licence, so I don't think they're necessarily the general warden that's there all the time. It would just be, as mentioned before, like an environmental warden, but there's only a few of those that cover the whole borough. But they will target hotspot areas where there are consistent complaints, so we can certainly raise this as an area of concern. And see.
Certainly about 40 people fishing at any one time. I shouldn't imagine that any of them have got fishing licences, because they're even white bread to catch the fish.
Yeah.
Which
so we can sort of follow up and to see if there's any, because obviously any presence there does obviously deter antisocial activity, doesn't it? So we can take that away and have a look to see.
When they start killing ducks, torturing wildlife, I don't think that's acceptable.
No, thank you. We'll chase up this. Councillor Hall, you wanted to come in on that?
Yes, please, very briefly. Yeah, actually, the particular day, I was the one that found the dead bird, when the kids were pulling it along with a fishing line. It was awful. I think I sent you an email, Lynn, telling you that I'm in conflict with Graham Tuff and Steve Gale just joined the company. And we are concerned about it, we are doing something about it. We hope to come up with a little plan, and as soon as we do, we'll let you know about it. We really are concerned about it. And I'd like to thank you, in the presence of everyone here, for the work you do for the community. She goes round the pond every day with a black bag, collecting all the litter that's left behind by these people.
Thank you. Thank you for your work. Clive Beach. Hello, Clive.
Just want to bring up another one. You just made a comment on the bench that is the people phone 101. I don't know how many people have tried that in weeks and months, but I'm always doing it, and it's useless.
This service isn't good, I agree.
I'm a dinosaur, I'm a pensioner. I'd get my daughters to do it for me. You just find me that by the time you've done all that, the incident's gone and everyone's disappeared.
Yeah,
It's a complete.
it's not a brilliant system, I'll be honest, what the phone on.
But as I said before, I'm a resident of Coombe Drive. My house backs onto the footpath between Elm Grove and the alleyway under the rails. This year, the residents in the area of the alley, my property as well, I've had my fence ripped down, smashed 5 times since Christmas. You sit in your garden, the stones launched over the fence. I had an ear cut up, and I had the police incident report for that. Neighbours have had windows smashed in their lofts, in their lounges, in their bedrooms. Umpteen fences ripped to pieces. Fires. We had a fire 3 doors up from me the other week, and the flames are 14 foot high. How long has us as residents got to put up with this? We all watched television the other week where the poor people north of Dagenham, all their gardens caught alight, their hills is caught alight. This is going to happen in our road. My neighbour 2 doors up, fence smashed, all the garden furniture pinched. The fence was burnt down when this big fire was on. Councillor Hall is trying his utmost. He gets no help from other councils in Merton. We are just fighting to have this alley shut. For 8 months, the lady in the council, I can't remember her name, Johnny, no, has said she is finding out who owns the alley through the land register. For me, being as a resident, is Kent County Council. I can go to the library and look at the land register, but for 7 months, she can't find out who owns it. And children are walking down the alley and lifting the garage roofs off, smashing them, jumping in the garages all over people's cars. We're getting no help whatsoever from Sittingbourne Council.
So,
Yeah, so I'm more than happy to look into that for you. I need to go away and have a look at what's going on and come
I
back
would
to you.
like you to liaise on with James,
Yeah,
because I
that's
sent him all the photos. He does know what the damage is. We've had one garden in Kern Drive. This rubbish, this high up their fence, has been there for a good year. Environmental people would run, we will come and clear it up. They had a map where to go and look. They was told where to go and look, they can't find it. I took photos of it tonight. The children from Elm Grove are climbing up there and jumping into the residents' garden and running around gardens, jumping over people's fences. Now, would you, other people like this, it's not once a month, it's every day. Every day, people are picking rocks up in there by their patio, by their conservatories, hitting you in the head. I've got grandchildren and great grandchildren. If they're in the garden, one in a pram and one toddler, they're starting to get them. All because the council will not shut this alley.
So we'll take it away and look for it. Obviously, there is a process for legally closing the alleyway, which isn't a quick process, which might be part of what the work's being done. But I think without seeing the details of the case, I obviously can't comment now, but by Councillor Hall, I will come back to you.
But the councillor involved in it had information from 10 years ago about this from residents in Kern Drive, and they got lost. That's how worried they are about residents having all this damage. I've got to pay £1,000 to have all my fence replaced. Why? Why do I want to do it? It'll get wrecked. Because they go up and kick it, they set it alight. You find bits of paper all in the fences like the other, where they go up there and set it all alight. Fishing, they go fishing, so they've got catapults to ping their bait in them. Then they come home and ping stones at all the elders. You can sit there at 9 o'clock at night in the garden and you can hear bang, 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 all the way up. I said to this council lady, would you like it? And all I've got from her is, I back onto the railway, don't get that problem. Well, down Shortland Road, she doesn't have an alley along the back of her. And then we have the trees cut down by the railway tree. And there's piles of logs, branches all piled up. And it's fun to go up there and set it alight. That's why we have so many fires. But someone's going to get killed up there soon.
Well, as I said, I'll take it away. I'll liaise with Councillor Hall and we will come back.
yeah, one moment, Celia. Our Barbara's in the queue.
And I'm with this gentleman as well. I come to the meeting with the local police. Well, honestly, God, it's complete and waste of time. Vehicles parked dangerously, vehicles parked on pavements, 3.5 ton vehicles parked on pavements. I've been a lorry driver all my life. I've never brought my lorry on. Well, I might as well now, and just park it on the pavement, because no one's bothered. You've got cars parked, James has all the time, on corners. You can't see when you pull out the junction. The police, oh, it's nothing to do with us. Well, we're just dangerous driving. anything like coming. When I read the highway code, I didn't think you could park where a white line was at the junction, they park over the junction now. Park anywhere. James has got the grass areas followed off the low one there because we didn't have no grass areas, they were all mud, where everyone used to park. We're living in a slum area, let alone a high risk fire area.
Okay, fine. Thank you. So we're going to stop there. And Charlotte's going to take those details away, and I'll
Yeah, just very quickly, I've compiled a report, a lengthy report, and I've sent it to Steph Coppice and the police, so you'll probably find that.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
I think we're having a meeting in a couple of weeks' time anyway.
Yeah, yeah. What I should have raised during the matters arising is both James and I on the CSP, which means we'll be liaising with the police more often. Well, we need to get moving, people. Jackie D, you're up next.
Yeah. I believe that just yesterday announced their timetable changes from the 2nd of October. And as of from Sunday the 2nd of October, there will be no buses at all on Sundays in Sittingbourne.
Is that only a Reba? Do Stagecoach cover on Sunday?
Stagecoach don't come on Sunday.
Maybe Stagecoach will pick up the slack then.
Unlike Stagecoach's argument is we can't because we can't. They operate the current service from Ham Bay. It's too far to come to pick up the slack unless they can get a depot in Sittingbourne.
Yeah, we have discussed this before.
Yeah, yeah. One quick upshot, which I have present, is that South Eastern have actually increased the Sheerness Sittingbourne service from 3-car service to 6-car service because of overcrowding. Because of the trains they stop using now, they can actually weigh the passengers. They don't rely on number of tickets sold, which are giving them a police force, and they're now getting proper figures of how many people are looking at. So obviously, that's something that's an aside. Obviously, there's more research got to go into some of this.
Thank you, Jackie. Thanks for the update. We have Sue Pito online.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, hi. Right, I'd just like to make a correction to agenda item 16, which I understand Councillor Dendor was making about the Saxon Shoreway. Yeah, and it actually starts at Gas Road. Now, we have sent Councillor Dendor photos and an email of the actual numbers of the footpaths, and the Saxon Shoreway definitely starts on the Merston side at Gas Road. Now, this is part of a programme that we're doing with the Merston Heart Project, and it's to do with active travel. So we're hoping to sort out the footpaths on the Merston side. Now, there is a lot of footpaths, and these all come under KCC, which are blocked. So I think something seriously needs to be done about some of the lost heritage and walkways that are happening in Merston. It's a beautiful area and it's being lost, and KCC really do need to start clearing footpaths more, looking after the area. And we were hoping that Councillor Dender would be of some help, but if he doesn't even know where the Saxon Shoreway starts in Merston, then that's really quite a sorry state, because it's a very important walkway. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Sue. Maybe Councillor Dender would like to go on a walk with Sue. And look at some of the.
I have a map here though, that indicates Castle Road.
Yes, can I just, we've done.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah. You have been invited, and we are doing some heritage walks, so you'd be very welcome to join us. I think we have one on the, I can't remember, 17th of September. I'll send you a personal invite, okay?
Include me in, please, Sue, if I'm through. Thank you very much, Sue. We've got one other. Gordon, did you want to come back on one other thing?
Yes, I'll go back to what the gentleman was saying about wardens. It doesn't seem to be enough wardens walking around.
What parking wardens?
Borough wardens.
Well, to do what, for parking or environmental
I
issues?
understand you've got 3 borough wardens that cover all the area. Is that correct?
What, for parking or environmental?
Parking.
No, parking, there's significantly more it is part of a wider contract. I don't know the numbers because it's not my area of service, but we can certainly feed that back through the minutes, but there's definitely more. There are more limited environmental wardens that deal with sort of littering, fences and.
But you've got so many community officers walking around either. It's non-existent now.
Okay, I think I'll liaise with James on this and we'll see if we can't check on their schedules and that, yeah. I think the outlying areas always tend to suffer a little bit. Councillor Rolls, very briefly.
Very briefly, the signs have been put up at Nelly's alleyway.
Yes, we saw them.
They're not being used correctly. The signs are too small.
Okay.
And that Nelly's alleyway is also being used by rough sleepers.
Okay, well, we could put that in the next one. I'll make a note of that and I'll check that in with Silver. Thank you, Councillor Rolls. There are other issues with the access on Nelly's Alley, which we discussed yesterday. Thank you, members and members of the public. Now, we come to agenda item 9, local issues to be raised by members. Are there any members who would like to add any local issues to our list? I did discuss this briefly beforehand with Janet. I'm not sure it needs to be on the agenda because most local councillors are already putting their local issues in anyway. So I think we may remove that. But I'm going to take you on board regarding Nelly's Alley because we need to get on with our agenda item 10. Yeah. Update on the work plan. You introduced it.
Yes, I can introduce this. So in the agenda pack on page 15, there's a cover report on Sittingbourne Area Committee funding for 2022-2023. So this year, the Area Committee were allocated £37,000 and the fund was open to applications from the 1st of July up until the 1st of August. And £77,027.30 bids were received for consideration, which means that there are over £40,027.30 worth of bids in excess of the allocation. All the applications were assessed by officers to make sure they were eligible and there were no issues with any of them. And then there was a scoring process that took place, which was based on criteria that the area committee set back in, I think it was June, that was set. And each bid was scored against that. So if you look at Appendix 1, you'll see the scores that each bid received. Committee members were given the opportunity to challenge any of those scores, but no challenges were received. So the next stage was for officers to put together some options for committee members to vote on this evening, and they're set out in the report. I'll just briefly go through the options. So the first option would be to allow for the highest scoring applications to receive 100% of funding from the scheme. That allows 6 6 projects to receive 100% of funding, except for the last one, which is slightly reduced just to make sure you stick to the 37,000. The option 2 allows for all bids to receive a percentage of their funding, and that works out at just over 48% of what they've bid. And the table shows how much they've requested and how much they would be allocated if it was 48%. The third option is a combination of the last two, really. So this option pays out just over 71% to the highest scoring applications. This allows more bids to receive some funding. And then the last option, which has to be in any report, really is that the committee may decide to do nothing. So that there always has to be a do nothing option. So I'll hand back to the chair before we look at those.
Thank you, Jenny. Thank you for that clear explanation. I hope members have read not only the options but also all the various bids. Councillor Trudeau.
Thanks, Chairman, and can I congratulate you and Janet Dart on the vast number of applications we've got in. It just shows how much this is growing and how much more engagement we've got. And I think people ought to know that you've been very proactive in that. So thanks for that. I'd just like to propose option 2. For 3 reasons, I think. One is I think it's important that, you know, we help as many as possible, and option 1 doesn't do that. The second thing is I think geographical distribution around the Sittingbourne area is also important, and I'm not sure option 1 does that, or option 3 to an adequate degree. And then on the scoring, you know, I've not challenged the scoring, but a kind of criteria-based scoring could actually lead to some getting low scores where they couldn't possibly get a score when their contribution to our community is very considerable. So we've got the Sittingbourne Community Radio. So it gets no points for improving the appearance of the area. Well, how could a radio station improve the appearance of the area? What it does do is it provides
everybody out.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, sir.
That wasn't a timer, by the way.
Carry on. So if you use criteria, and some of the criteria clearly mean that some bids that are really worthwhile. I wonder if you'd like to go outside. Really are going to get a 0, therefore they're going to get a low overall score. Whereas there might be an aspect of this where they ought to be getting an extremely high score, which they're not able to do. And I think the radio station is an example. It provides a service to the whole of Sittingbourne. It doesn't just provide entertainment, it actually turns up at a lot of events that other media don't turn up to. It acts as a good information service for the community and also for SWO. There's nothing in here that, you know, that can prove that other than the one where they get 9, and that's the maximum they can get. So I think it shouldn't be too guided by these, and the idea that some have got a higher score and if we exclude this one, I think would be unfair. So I recognise this is the system we're using, and it's agreed by the chairs of the different area committees. So, you know, I do think we ought to be supportive too, because it does embrace quite a few activities, and it provides some support to a lot of people. And I wouldn't like some of these to be left out just on sort of what is maybe a slightly arbitrary criteria system. So I'm proposing 2, and leave it to other people to.
We may have to revisit the criteria.
No. To be truthful, there are no criteria that are all embracing, and if you have a limited score for something that somebody ought to get 60 or 70 for, you just have to accept that we as councillors should use this as a guide, not as a diktat.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Winkles.
I would just like to say I was second Councillor Trundle's proposal to go for option 2. I totally agree. I think that all the applicants should get a fair share of, make my voice a bit lower,
Yes,
should get a fair share of the cake. And yes, I will second Councillor Trundle's proposal for option 2.
Thank you, Councillor Winkles. Councillor Rolls.
I was going to say exactly the same. The 10 years of radio, they did such a good job during when everybody was at home and not able to go out. And we're also trying to get the Queen's Award for them, which we're applying this month for the Queen's Award. So
thank you, sir.
I third.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Rolls. Councillor Hall.
Yeah, it's very difficult for me to disagree with councillor Truelove, but I must disagree because, yeah, but it's just to make a point, that's all. Over the last 7 years as a councillor, these companies down here, like the Dolphin Sailing Bars, the Sittingbourne Community Radio, etc., I've always been putting funding into them through my members, council's membership. And I know all the councillors, my fellow councillors have been doing the same. So they're getting funds, right? We've got to consider that. They really need more funds because without the area committee, it's only a new thing. They're doing okay. Why do they need more funds? Why can't we go for option one and let everybody be happy with it? That's the main, I think that's more appropriate. That's what I'll be going.
Thank you, councillor Hall.
Okay. So
Yeah, councillor Denver.
Yes, first of all, just a point of information from me. Maybe Janet can help. Councillor, I totally agree with Councillor True about the criteria. But I thought each committee set their own criteria.
We did.
Yes.
It is.
So it's not all the chairs. We can actually reset.
We did reset our.
Criteria for this
We
committee.
reset the criteria. We did.
There should be, but we can reset the criteria.
For next year, that you can have completely different criteria if you wish.
That was just a point of information. I'm going to put the other one in now. I'm going to go halfway between Councillor Hall and Councillor True, unfortunately, and propose option 3. The point, I totally accept the point that we must give as much as we can to each one. But my problem is some of the people may not be able to do what they plan to do if you dilute the funds too much. And you end up them not being able to act, on what they've asked the money for. Yes. So option 3 to me is actually a good halfway house between the two. That they get at least, I think 71%, if I remember right.
It's just over 71%.
1%, which I think gives them a good chance to do the thing that they asked the money for. But if you reduce it to 48, I wonder if they can actually do their project.
In the defence of that, I did speak with the groups that I'm involved with, and I did tell them that they were the funds were oversubscribed and that they may not receive their full amount, and it would either have to come from members' funds, members' grants, or other match funding to complete the project. So they were warned in advance. Do we now? We've had a proposal for option 2 with a second.
Yeah. Is there a seconder for Councillor Dendel's proposal?
Well, James Hall.
Can I say something else? I mean, I haven't got an answer for my question. All these companies that are listed in option 2, they're funded for years and years by members. They get a vast amount of money. Why we haven't included them again?
It's an open bidding process, Councillor Hall, so they can all
just think
they can all bid. We decided as a committee to publicise our funds. Western didn't; they went a different route, and so once it's out there in the open, then anyone can bid for it because it goes on the website.
Yeah, I understand that, but we're voting tonight.
Yes.
That's how everybody wants to go.
So, Jim, as the proposer, can I come back on my?
I'll allow that. This one's Councillor Truelove.
Well, it's a normal procedure. Very well made points, but wrong. But firstly, James makes the point that members' grants, some of these get members' grants, they're nothing like, the grants they get from members don't equal the sort of amounts of money they're asking here. And we never make grants through the council on the assumption that they're fully funding any organisation. So it isn't possible really to say that if they don't get the full amount, they won't be able to do what they're doing. We are making a contribution. They have to find other sources of funding, and they do. And they may well come to members for members' grants, but members' grants individually, I don't know what others do, but I don't give people 6,000 because that's it.
There goes to Truelove. So we have a proposal on the floor. We now for option 2 with a seconder. We've had a proposal for option 1, and we need a seconder.
Second.
It would have to be members, I believe. It's only members. So we have a proposal for option 1 from Councillor Hall. Anyone wants to second Councillor Hall's proposal? No. And we have a proposal for option 3 from Councillor Denders. Does anyone want to second Councillor Denders' proposal? Councillor Hall. So now we have Sure, yeah, okay, I thought so. Right, so can we have a show of hands from members only, I'm afraid? Members of the public don't get a vote on this. Members only on option 2. There's only options here.
Yes.
Yes.
And can I show of hands for option 3?
Well, with the tongue.
Right, thank you, members, and I appreciate that not everyone will be happy in the room. I now have to read out, I believe. Right, so I now have to read out option 2. What they actually get, not whatever questions, yeah. So for option 2, this is for the record, so bear with me. The Kemsley Community Centre Trust will be getting £2,040.48p. I'll round it up for you. The Sittingbourne and Kemsley Light Railway Limited will be getting £2,785.97p. A Diversity House will be getting £4,111.71. The Milton Regis Society will be getting £3,841.71. A member bid by Councillor James Hall, and I know there's another one, SIT 035, will be getting £1,921.36. New Leaf Support will be getting £3,158.24. Youth Resilience UK CIC will be getting £749.33. Ellie's Angels will be getting £1,921.36. Swell Media Arts Centre will be getting £4,338.43. Milton Creek Country Park will be getting £4,323.06. Member bid Councillor James Hall, SIT 031, will be getting £1,921.36. The Sittingbourne Christmas Lights and Sleigh Rounds will be getting £1,556.30. The Dolphin Sailing Barge Museum will be getting £943.58. And the Sittingbourne Community Radio will be getting £3,386.39.
Just to say, if any representatives from those groups are here, I will be in the next, hopefully by the end of this week, I'll get acceptance letters out. If you could complete them, return them to me, please, and then I will arrange for the funds to be transferred to your bank account.
I have a question from Councillor True. Yes, Councillor True.
Yeah, having made that decision, is there a comms arrangement?
There will be, yes, I'm working with them.
Thank you, members. Right, we'll crack on. Agenda item 11. Matters referred to the area committee by the service committees, done as far as I'm aware. Now, there has been a change in the matters to be referred by us to the service committee. It's now to the chairs, not just the committee itself. And Councillor Dender, were you going to raise the issue of planning?
Well, yeah, right.
To take it to the service committee chair?
Yeah.
Okay, if you would, as soon as the service committee chair is here,
I totally appreciate
you'll make a note.
The lack of people and the effort that they put in, the pressure they're under. But some of the applications are really falling by the wayside.
We know there is an issue. Thank you, Councillor Dender. Well, yes, all it seems to be with planning and breach as well. It's a cost of department. Because I breaches right, I struggle. Right, well, thanks again to Councillor Hall for arranging the venue tonight and getting here quite early and helping to set up. And it's very good of him. And thank you to the members of the public who came in and participated or not, just listen, because it's all part of the process of the area committees, engagement with the communities. And our next meeting, for those who are interested, and we don't know who we're going to have yet, but you never know, Tuesday the 13th of December, the venue will be decided. One of my remits was to try and spread it through the Sittingbourne area So we've done Kemsley a couple of times, we've done Chalkwell. We may try and find a place in Milton, or there's Homewood or Rowan. So we will let you know where the next meeting is going to be. And with that, I think that's it.
If anybody has any suggestions for venues, please let me know, but we do need Wi-Fi so we can have this.
Yeah.
We are Forecourt Road.
Huh?
Forecourt Road, the sports.
Oh, the upper yachts, yeah, yeah.
The yard sports. Centre.
Yeah.
Well, it's good enough, Phoenix.
Have you got good Wi-Fi there?
Where's that, sorry?
Phoenix.
Phoenix.
Where's that?
Phoenix. Phoenix House, yeah.
Yeah, it's covered, but it's there.
And with that, we can close the meeting